The Galactic Council Hall was filled with voices.
At.
Bright lights flashed. Every species from across the galaxy had gathered here. Tall creatures with blue skin, tiny lizard-like diplomats, even floating minds in glass jars. Everyone came to the summit. But one group was different. The humans. They quietly walked into the Great Hall. They didn't speak much. They didn't push to sit in the front like others. They simply looked around, nodded politely, and moved to the very back row. They sat down without a word. This happened every time. And every time the other species laughed. "Why do humans always sit in the back?" asked Veller, a thin, insectoid ambassador from the Zelkar Empire. "Afraid of being noticed. It must be weak," said another. "Or maybe they're just lazy." No human replied. They never did. They just smiled. But on that day, something happened. Something that made the entire galaxy stop laughing as the meeting began. The supreme speaker of the council, a four-armed creature named Gorthel, stood in the center. He welcomed the delegates, praised the peace between species, and started reading reports behind him. Giant screens showed data trade routes, military movements, new species discovered. Everyone watched the screen, except one human. His name was Commander Elias Reeve. He sat in the back row like the others. But his eyes weren't on the screen. They were scanning the room. His face was calm. But inside, he felt something was wrong. Suddenly his hand moved to his ear. "Team Bravo," he whispered. "Possible threat. East Wing entrance. Cloaked." At first, no one noticed. The meeting continued. But then, chaos. A loud alarm rang through the hall. A bright red light flashed. Security bots rolled in from the side doors. They moved fast, heading straight toward the East Wing. A second later, a cloaked figure appeared, shocked, caught, surrounded. It was an assassin with a plasma blade, and he was only 10 meters away from the two. Supreme Speaker, gasps filled the hall. Everyone stood up. Many screamed. The assassin didn't resist. He knew he had failed. But as he was dragged away, someone shouted, "How did the humans see him?" Cameras were blind. The sensors had shown nothing. Even the guards were fooled. But somehow, a human from the back row had seen what no one else did. After the meeting, a group of leaders met in private. "How did they know?" asked Admiral Terrell of the Zarin Republic. "He was invisible to all our tech." "Did they use a secret scanner?" asked another. "No," said High Strategist Rokar. "I checked. The humans didn't bring any special devices. It's just there." Eyes. Silence filled the room. "They saw what we couldn't," Rokar continued. "Because they were sitting back watching. Thinking." Later that night, the human team sat around a table in their ship. Commander Reeve looked at his team and smiled. "Good work," he said. "One life saved. Possibly a war avoided." "Why do we always sit in the back, sir?" a young officer asked. Reeve leaned back in his chair and sipped his coffee. "Because when you sit in the back," he said slowly, "you can see everything. The front shows you the speaker, the back shows you the room." The team nodded. They understood. Across the galaxy, news spread quickly. Human catches assassin with bare eyes. Why did the humans sit in the back row or power seat? Everyone was talking. No longer were humans seen as quiet or weak. Now they were the watchers, the observers, the ones who waited in silence. And struck with precision, the next time the council met, no one laughed when the humans chose the last row again. In fact, some leaders looked over their shoulders, hoping the humans were watching. Because if the humans saw something, anything chances were it was already too late for the enemy, and so began the whispers. The back row belongs to the humans, and from there, they see everything. It was late at night. The Galactic Council Hall was silent. The great doors were locked. The lights were low. Only a few guards moved around. All cameras showed nothing unusual, but something moved in the dark dot. A shadow. It slipped past the gates, past the guards, past the scanners. The figure was covered in stealth armor, invisible to all sensors. Even heat and sound detectors couldn't find him. He moved like smoke, quiet and deadly. His mission was clear: kill a senator. The senator was a leader from the Nazari Empire, one of the most powerful voices in the galaxy. His death would spark war chaos that many enemies wanted, and no one saw the danger coming. No one, except one human. Captain Juno Hale sat at the back row of the observation deck, far above the council floor. Her eyes watched every corner, every shadow. Others believed the meeting was over for the night. She didn't. She believed something was wrong. A feeling, an instinct. She zoomed in her lenses and whispered, "Contact cloaked. Northwest Tower stairwell. Moving fast." On her signal, hidden drones activated. Silent, invisible. They followed the shadow. The assassin moved toward the senator's quarters. He passed through 5 locked doors. He disabled the alarms with ease. He reached the final corridor. No. Guards, no noise. Perfect. He pulled out his plasma blade. Suddenly, soft beep. He turned around. Too late. A stun blast hit him in the chest, another in the leg. 3 more followed. The assassin collapsed before his weapon touched the floor. The next morning, the news broke across all channels. Assassins stopped in secret mission. Human intervention saved Senator's life. How did they know? Alien. Leaders gathered in shock. How did humans detect something that all our systems missed? Asked Supreme Chancellor Velm. No one else even sensed the attack, added Minister Kerr. The area was secure. Commander Elias Reeves stood calmly in the middle of the room. He answered with a smile. "We sit at the back," he said, "not because we're afraid. Sit there because no one watches the watchers." Back on their ship, Captain Juno reviewed the footage with her team. The assassin had used advanced stealth tech stolen from a forbidden black market lab. Even the Galactic Council's own intelligence agency didn't know this model existed. But humans had seen it, not with scanners, with their eyes that day. Something changed. Alien commanders started asking humans to help with investigations. "Just observe," they said. "Just sit and tell us what you see." And the humans did. In 1 week, humans uncovered 2 spy networks, stopped a bribe between rival factions, and exposed a secret ship factory hidden behind a moon. Every time they had the same answer: "We saw it from the back." Some alien leaders began to worry. "Are the humans spying on us?" whispered one. "Do they have hidden tech?" But others shook their heads. "No, that's the scary part," said Admiral Catal. "They use no special machines. They use their minds, their memory, their instincts." In a private meeting, Counselor Grell of the Yether species looked at his human guest and asked, "Tell me the truth. How do your people keep seeing things no one else does?" The human smiled. "You all rush to speak. We wait and listen. Phew. All look forward. We look around. You trust your tech. We trust our training." Then he leaned in and said, "You sit in the front to be seen. We sit in the back to see." That night, across many systems, a new phrase began to spread. In quiet voices, in worried tones, the humans sit in the back. But they see everything, and some began to wonder, what else have the humans seen? What secrets do they already know? And what happens when they finally decide to stand? The Galactic Council was silent that morning. No shouting, no laughter, just quiet fear. Every delegate had received a message, not through official channels, not through known networks. It came through a hidden line, one that didn't even exist until now when the message opened. It showed a short video, only 47 seconds long. But those 47 seconds shook the galaxy. The footage showed 2 powerful alien leaders in a secret room. They were laughing, they were drinking, and they were making a deal, a dirty deal, one that betrayed. 3 allied species promised weapons to a banned faction, and even discussed the removal of a high-ranking council member. It was a crime. It's a massive one. And somehow, humans had the video. No one knew how. No one knew when it was recorded. But at the end of the clip, a line appeared on screen. "From the back row, we see everything." Manic spread like fire. Meetings were canceled. Ships were locked down. Leaders, who were always loud and proud, now stayed silent. Who recorded this? the accused screamed. But no one answered. No human claimed responsibility. They just sat in the back. Like always, watching Admiral Terrell, leader of the Czarn military, slammed his hand on the table. This is impossible. That room had no cameras, no mics. It was shielded. Reeve, the human commander, simply looked at him. That's what you believed, he said. And that belief blinded you. Behind closed doors. A secret meeting was held. Only 7 leaders were invited, those trusted by most galactic species, and 1 human observer. No name tag. No rank. Just a human. Is this blackmail? Someone asked. Is humanity trying to control the council? But the human only replied, we don't threaten. We reveal. The truth is loud enough. Across the galaxy, people started to whisper. The humans are listening. Back row sees what others hide. Nothing is safe anymore. And those whispers turned into fear. Inside a luxury tower on the planet Malrex, 2 rich corporate leaders held a secret meeting. They laughed at the council, mocked the humans, and joked about starting a fake war to raise prices. They thought they were alone. But 2 days later, their conversation appeared on galactic news. Every word, every lie, every plan caught, exposed. Destroyed, reporters asked. Did the humans do this? The council asked, how are they getting these recordings? The humans gave no answers, no press statements, no interviews. They just returned to the next summit, sat in the back row. Councillor Grell, a respected leader of the Yether, called a vote. Should we ban all human surveillance equipment? The vote failed, because no one could prove humans used any equipment at all. They weren't using cameras, they were using ears. Eyes and discipline. They saw patterns. They remembered faces. They listened. When others talked too much, some believed. The humans were reading minds. Others believed they had hacked time itself. But the truth was simpler and scarier. Humans were not trying to control the galaxy. They were just paying attention in a quiet room. Reeve spoke to his team. Now they know, he said. Now they understand. Captain Juno nodded. They're scared of us now. No, Reeve replied. They're scared of their own actions being seen. He looked at the screen showing the next summit invitation. Let them be scared, he said, because fear makes people behave. At the next council meeting, many leaders arrived early. Some demanded to sweep the room. Some hired private guards. And some tried to sit in the back row themselves. But the humans were already there.com, silent watching. And from that day forward, the phrase became legend. When the humans sit in the back, no lie survives. The summit chamber was full again, but something had changed. No more jokes, no more laughs about the humans sitting in the back now. Every alien leader glanced at them with quiet fear. They no longer saw humans as weak. They saw them as dangerous. But they still didn't understand how far that danger truly reached. Not yet. That night, in a luxury space station orbiting Veltraxis Prime, 5 powerful CEOs from different species met in secret. They were some of the richest in the galaxy. They hated humans. They're watching us too closely. One said, they're a virus. Another whispered, we must silence them. Permanently. The others nodded. They made a plan. The next morning, all 5 were gone. Not killed, not captured, just ... gone. Villas empty, ships floating in space, bank accounts frozen. Nothing remained but one message sent to their assistants. Next time, whisper softer. We hear everything. Signed. The back row. Panic spread again. Now it wasn't just the leaders who were scared. It was the rich, the powerful, the quiet criminals who had ruled from behind closed doors now. Someone was listening to them. A reporter asked Reeve directly, did your people do this? He smiled calmly. We don't take action unless there's a reason, he said. Sometimes whispers are louder than screams. In hidden corners of the galaxy, secret conversations began. How do the humans know what we say in private? Do they have bugs, spies, mind readers? Should we stop speaking at all? One by one, powerful, Alien leaders stopped using communication lines. They shut down meetings. They erased private logs. But still, somehow, humans kept finding the truth. In one case, rebellion was crushed before it began. Human agents had sent a warning to the planets. Military 2 days before the attack started. Destroy these ships before sunrise, the message read. They carry death. The military obeyed and saved 1 million lives. When asked how they knew, the humans replied, "We heard the whispers. We always do." Now, every time someone tried to plan something evil, there was fear in the room. What if a human was nearby? What if one of them was watching? What if someone in the back row already knew everything? Some leaders called it unfair. They don't fight with weapons, one growled. They fight with silence. They win by waiting, another cried. They don't even speak unless it matters. A senator from the Valari Empire stood up and shouted. They turned listening into a weapon. And that was the truth. At the next summit, a new rule was proposed. Limit human observers to 1 per meeting. But when the vote was called, something strange happened. Many delegates voted no, because secretly, they trusted the humans now. They feared them, yes, but they also knew if the humans were watching, no one could lie for long. Later that day, in the shadows of a quiet hallway, a young alien officer asked Reeve, "Why do humans even care? Why watch so closely? Why not just live and let others rule?" Reeve looked at him and said, "Because we've seen what happens when no one watches. We've lived through it. On Earth, silence once cost us millions of lives. And now we choose to listen. And we will never ignore whispers again." From that point forward, the galaxy gave a new name to the humans who always sat in the back. They were no longer called silent observers. They were now called the Whisper Watchers. Because when they listened, darkness fell silent, and lies died in their throats. The stars were quiet, too quiet. A massive trade fleet from 7 species moved through the Bracker system. Hundreds of ships floated calmly in space, bright, proud, and unprotected. At the front were the command ships of the galaxy's most powerful. Leaders behind them came cargo vessels, and far behind, almost forgotten, floated a small human ship, old dark gray with no big guns. It looked more like a junk hauler than a warship. The aliens called it Observer 12. No one paid it much attention. They should have. Suddenly, space cracked open. Dozens of enemy ships dropped out of warp. No warning. No signals. Pirates. Not ordinary ones. These were the Red Fangs. A brutal gang with cloaking tech and stolen warships. They attacked fast. The front command ships were hit first. Explosions rocked the fleet. "We're under fire," shouted an alien commander. "Shields down," yelled another. The leaders screamed into their coms. "Evacuate, retreat, protect the cargo." Panic spread. The pirates moved like wolves, and the fleet scattered like prey, except for one ship. Observer 12. Still calm. Still silent. Still at the back. Inside, Captain Juno Hale sat in her chair. Her crew waited, hands on controls. "Orders, ma'am?" one asked. She looked at the fleet. On her screen, panicking, breaking apart. Then she smiled. "Let's show them why we sit at the back." With zero warning, Observer 12 lit up, engines roared. Lights turned blue. Panels opened. Hidden weapons deployed. Big weapons. Nobody knew the humans had modified the ship with anti-pirate tech. They weren't just watching this time. They were ready in seconds. The human ship moved like a predator, fast and smooth. It didn't flee, it charged straight into the enemy. The pirates laughed at first. "One small ship," the pirate leader mocked. "Crush it." But then, their front ship exploded. One human missile, perfectly placed, hit their power core. Then another. And another. Observer 12 danced through the battlefield, targeting weak points. Didn't fire randomly. Every shot was planned, precise, deadly, aboard the scattered fleet. Alien commanders watched in shock. "That can't be a scout ship," said one. "How are they doing this?" asked another. No one knew. No one understood how one human ship. From the back of the formation, Hal led the entire fight. The pirate fleet tried to regroup. 2. Late Observer 12 launched a pulse bomb that disabled their cloaking systems. Now, every pirate ship was visible. The rest of the fleet, now recovering, began to fight back, but the real damage had already been done by the humans. From the back 30 minutes later, it was over. The pirate fleet destroyed the trade fleet, saved, not by the front line leaders, not by the biggest ships, but by a quiet human vessel that had started in the rear, in the aftermath. An emergency meeting was called. Alien leaders asked. The question everyone was thinking, why didn't you tell us you had weapons? Captain Juno looked at them, calm as always. You didn't ask, she said. We were there to observe. But if no one's watching the rear, who stops the knife in your back? A commander growled. You tricked us. Reeves stepped forward. No, he said firmly. We protected you. You all fight to be seen at the front. Sit in the back to make sure you come home alive. After that day, no fleet traveled without a human ship at the rear. They were no longer just observers. They were guardians, hunters, and everyone knew. When the battle starts, it's the humans at the back. First. It started with a question in a classroom on the planet Jarnus 7. A young alien student raised her hand. She looked nervous. The human guest lecturer, an old man with calm eyes and silver hair, nodded toward her. Yes, he said gently. The student spoke. Why do humans always sit in the back? The room became silent. Everyone waited. The old man smiled slowly. Then he said, because we learned the hard way. What happens when no one is watching? The screen. Behind him, turned on images of Earth's history began to show. Old wars, broken cities, civilians in pain. And then, silence. A long pause. Then new images appeared. People sitting at the back of rooms, of buses, of courts, of crowds, watching, waiting, thinking. The old man continued. On Earth, our people have sat in the back for centuries, sometimes because they had to, sometimes because they chose to, and sometimes because they saw what others missed. He paused again, then added, we learned that the front is for display. The back is for strategy. The students looked confused. But isn't the front stronger? One asked. The old man shook his head. The front reacts. The back prepares. The front speaks. The back listens. The front wants attention. Back wants results? Elsewhere in the galaxy, alien leaders were starting to learn the same lesson. One high commander from the Craven fleet spoke to his advisors. I always thought the humans sat behind us because they were unsure. He looked out the window of his ship, but now I realized they sat behind us to protect us, across dozens of planets. Schools added new sections to their training. Human observation tactics became a subject. Spy academies sent there top students to study with human analysts, and over time, many alien captains quietly started sitting in the back rows of their own war rooms, not to copy humans, but to understand them on a research station. 2 alien scientists studied human behavior for over a year. They wrote in their report, humans don't seek power by force alone, they seek knowledge first. With it, they build power that doesn't need to shout. At a diplomatic event, a reporter asked Reeve the same old question, why do you still choose the back seat? He looked around the crowded room and replied, because the truth rarely walks in through the front door. That night, Captain Juno sat with a group of young alien cadets. One of them asked, will humans ever lead from the front? She smiled. We already are, she said. The cadet looked confused. But you're not sitting in the front. Juno leaned forward, her voice low but clear. When you control what everyone else misses, you're already leading. From Earth's ancient generals to modern commanders in the stars, one thing remained the same. Humans don't rush forward to be first. They step back. So they can see everything. And when the time comes, they don't just move forward, they strike by the end of the cycle. Alien schools were filled with one new saying, to understand the future, study the back row. And across the galaxy, even the proudest species had started doing one thing. Differently, watching, listening, waiting, just like the humans taught them. It started with a blink dot. Every galactic bank system, across 12 core worlds, suddenly froze. No alarms. No explosions. Just silence. Money stopped moving. Ships couldn't launch. Deals collapsed in mid-transaction. The richest beings in the galaxy stared at blank screens. Then one message appeared. Next time, look behind you. The back row, and just like that, humanity owned the galaxy's economy. 1 week earlier, the Galactic Bank headquarters on Delver Prime, a group of elite bankers laughed in a private room. The humans sit quietly, one said. They watch, but they never act. They're afraid to lead, another added. They're just observers. All of them smiled. They had no idea that in the last 5 years, humans had been silently buying small shares in thousands of companies, transport firms, food suppliers, data lines, even energy stations. Tiny pieces no one noticed until those small pieces became something massive, a silent web, controlled from the back. At the next trade summit, an announcement shocked the entire council. Human corporations now owned controlling interest in 3 of the largest galactic logistics firms. And with that, it controlled the flow of goods across 50 star systems. How did this happen? Yelled a Krython delegate. They never made a move in public. Shouted another. That was true. Humans never gave loud speeches. They just listened. Bought. Waited behind closed doors. Reeve explained to a small group of worried leaders. You were too busy talking about power, he said. We were busy learning. Where power really lives? A Nazari ambassador leaned forward. What do you want in return? Reeve looked at him and calmly replied, Nothing. We just want stability. And sometimes the best way to keep order is to hold the keys. In another part of the galaxy, the Red Talon Mining Guild tried to block a human trade route. 3 days later, they went bankrupt. No weapons, no war. Just silence. The humans simply stopped delivering to their customers. And the galaxy watched. Their empire collapse overnight. A reporter asked Captain Juno, Did you plan this takeover? She smiled slightly. We didn't take over, she said. You left the door open. We just walked in. Now, every time a galactic deal was made, someone in the room would ask, Are there any humans in this? Because if there were, things would move fast. And smooth? If there weren't? People hesitated. Even black market traders began following rules because humans controlled most of the cargo lines now. One pirate told his crew, Don't mess with humans. They don't shoot first. They just make sure your fuel never arrives. Soon, everyone realized humans didn't need warships. They didn't need armies. They had taken control of the galaxies. Money movement from the shadows, from the back row. In a high-level meeting, a proud alien general said, This is not fair. You gained power without force. Commander Reeve replied, We didn't want power. We wanted leverage. And leverage is quiet. Until it's too late. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. No loud invasions. No demands. No ultimatums. Just calm, careful moves. And when the final move landed, the galaxy realized the truth. They were already living in the system the humans had built. And yet, the humans never moved to the front. They still sat in the back row, watching, listening, and letting the galaxy run itself until it needed a correction. Then, just one whisper from the back, and everything changed. The Grand Galactic Summit was the largest in history. Every species sent their leaders. Every council seat was filled. All eyes were focused on one question. Where were the humans? For the first time in years, the human delegation hadn't arrived early. They hadn't sent a message. They hadn't answered any calls. The summit hall felt different, unsteady, uneasy. The front rows were packed, as always. The middle rows were crowded with bodyguards and officials. But the back row, the place that had once belonged to humans, was empty. Too empty. The silence made many uncomfortable. Supreme Chancellor Velm looked around the chamber, and finally asked, "Where are the humans?" No one answered. And then, without warning, every screen in the chamber turned black. A soft hum filled the air. Then a voice. Spoke.com. Clear. Familiar. Familiar, Commander Elias Reeve. For years we sat behind you. We watched. We listened. We warned you when danger came. We stopped the knives meant for your backs. The room fell still. No one moved. No one breathed. You never understood why we sat in the back, Reeve continued. It wasn't fear. It wasn't weakness. It was choice. The screens changed. Footage began playing clips. From past meetings, moments where humans had saved lives, moments where their silence had uncovered lies, moments where they held the galaxy together without ever asking for credit. Then the screens showed something new. Empty human bases, silent ships, power, turned off, and one final message you wanted. The front row, you can have it. Let's see what you do, now that we're not watching. The screens shut off. Silence followed, a heavy, terrifying silence. The leaders looked around the chamber. Suddenly, the front didn't feel powerful anymore. It felt exposed, vulnerable alone, across the galaxy. Systems once managed quietly by humans began to slow. Trade routes stalled. Cargo went missing. Security systems lit. It wasn't an attack, it was absence. The humans were not there to keep it running, and now, Galaxy understood what that meant. In the following weeks, leaders sent messages begging for a response. Some offered apologies. Some offered alliances. Some offered power. But the humans didn't reply. Not with words, not with ships, nothing. Until one morning, a single human ship entered orbit around the Galactic Council planet. No weapons. No threats. Just a quiet landing captain. Juno Hale stepped out alone. She was welcomed like a queen, but her face showed no pride, just calm focus. A reporter asked her, "Are humans coming back to lead?" She smiled softly and said, "We never needed to lead. We just made sure things didn't fall apart. You wanted the front, so take it. But understand this." She looked across the silent crowd. "We don't sit in the back because we're weak. We sit in the back because we can." From that day forward, no one ever laughed about the back row again. In every meeting, one row was always left empty. The back row, not out of fear, but out of respect it belonged. To the humans, to the watchers, to the ones who never needed to raise their voice to be heard, and across the stars. One final phrase became part of every school, every army, every council. The humans sit in the back. Because that's where real power sees everything.